How you guys doing? My name is John Garrish. I'm the Director of Athletic Development and Performance, as well as the school's head track and field coach here at North Broward Prep in Coconut Creek, Florida. One of the things that's become paramount and we've really prioritized in our students' training is maximal velocity sprinting. Not just for our track and field athletes, not just for our sprinters, but all of our field, all of our court, all of our team sport athletes. It's become a real important factor in our training. And I truly believe, regardless of age, regardless of developmental level, it's important to stress the mechanics of max velocity sprinting. It's something that improves performance. It's also something that we use certainly weekly and want to make sure we're doing it the right way. So I'm going to go through a hurdle series that's going to stress some of the most important components of max velocity sprinting, some of the common flaws that I see, and some of those corrections that come with it. So here's a progression of them. I'm going to explain some developmental and earlier progressions that we'll go through as we go, but I'll just show you kind of what we're looking for. A couple of the things that I really see from our student athletes, honestly myself in training, if I break down my own sprint form, the most common flaws that I see, one of them is excessive backside action. What that means is basically if you draw a line from your head down to your heels, anything behind that line is going to be backside action. We want to limit that action as much as possible. We want to maximize our movements in the front side, so in front of the line. So one of the things that we use the hurdles for is not only that, and not only quickly, and I tell our students, make it snappy, bringing that foot right to the front side, but we also, another common flaw that I see, and I think a lot of it has to do with, I think they play into each other and I think they're an effect of each other, is our posture falls, our posture drops. We have an over rotation, meaning our shoulders come forward, which might be something that looks like it happens in acceleration, but that's just more of a force direction cue. So when I see our shoulders excessively forward, I know that there's probably something going on in our sprint mechanics that is incorrect. And the last thing is just from a standpoint of where our pelvis is. I see our pelvis sit back again if our shoulders are rotated over forward, and it also limits our height. So if I'm about 6'1", I don't want to run like I'm 5'6". I want to maximize that height. So a couple of the things that we look for when we're going over the hurdle, I'll start with a progression with running arms, but don't think this is like our arm mechanics in sprinting. I tell our students, don't even think about it. When we correct our leg action, I notice that our students also correct their arm action. So I tell them, don't worry too much about the arms. Sure, we want to counterbalance. Sure, we want to counter action and counter rotation, but we don't want to worry too much. I'm not going to tell a student, hey, you had the wrong angle at your arm or anything like that. What we want to see is that foot snap through quickly. We want to see hip height, all right? We also want to see me land tall, all right? So it's not like landing a single leg jump typically where we would land nice and low. We want to land tall and rigid. So it's here, and I should be tall. Can that athlete stabilize? We want them to, but it's not the ultimate, all right? It's not ultimate. If they kind of land and realize that something's not right, something might have happened through those mechanics, excuse me, but otherwise, it's not a huge concern for us. So another thing with that leg wanting to be as tall and rigid, we also want to enhance stiffness in our body. So sprinting, especially max velocity, is can you get stiff? All right, so is it stiffness or is it relaxation? It's constant stiffness and relaxation. So through contact, we really want to emphasize our stiffness. So I might go different arm positions just to kind of actualize what our upper body is doing. I could go hands on the opposite shoulder. Here, landing nice and tall again, can I be stiff? Another arm position that's important for us, increasing posture even more, what we call a prisoner position. If some population maybe doesn't prefer that, that's fine. I would just tell them hands laced behind their head, elbows pushed way back. Again, emphasizing height. All right, through acceleration, we want to push back into the ground. Through max velocity, we want to push down into the ground. So I want to get down, up and down. All right, I want to project upward and I want to strike straight down. The last one maybe that we would do actually, at least from a stationary upper body position, is going hands up overhead, nice and stiff. Can that athlete land nice and tall? One thing that I'll tend to see is if a student is way back here, what they're going to do, I can just show you a common flaw. They're probably going to go here, and they're going to have that foot excessively backside. So we tell them, get right up under the hurdle and step right down under the hip. Ultimately, I tell them kind of just scratch your Achilles potentially on the hurdle, if that makes sense. Step straight down. The next one, again, stiffness, relaxation. I tell them start from like a goblet type position. If I was goblet holding a med ball, thumbs right about at the armpits. I'll go foot up, same concept. Arms up overhead, and can I get tall, and can I get stiff and rigid, and can I maintain stiffness up overhead? Do we have a common flaw of the pelvis? Something like here, or we want to limit that. Again, because that's going to show its head. These might be simple drills. These might be relatively stationary drills. However, when we get more complex, when we get more intense, when we add speed and change the environment a little bit, it becomes a real challenge. So if we can't hold that position, if we can't get tall and rigid here, we're not going to be able to do it when we're top end sprinting. Like all of our movements that we do in the weight room, all the movements that we do out here on the field, really all of our movements in our program, the progression follows a motor skill acquisition type of format. So we go slow to fast, simple to complex, single to multiple, change the environment, change the drill, change what we're looking for. So in those previous drills that we showed, we'll show a single hop over, a single step over, whichever way you want to term that, that'll kind of cue the student athlete or cue the person that you're working with. When we go more complex, we'll add multiple reps. So not only can we maintain that same position that we're looking for, I'll show you our hops between. Can we maintain posture? Can we maintain that position? Does it look more up and down than it looks forward and back? Again, because we're looking max velocity, should be up and down rather than forward and back. So as I go through my multiple hops, I'm here. Just get the technique corrected over the hurdles, maintain an upright posture, make it look up and down, not so much forward and back. As I said before, we can change our hand position, change our position of our, whatever we can do to help our student athletes learn, this is what it's supposed to feel like. I want them to feel it. I don't want them to hear it from me, all right? So it's very important to be able to cue and be able to say the right things, usually very simple things to help our students feel what they want to feel. But if they just hear my words and they're not able to feel what we're looking for, we're not going to get anything out of the drill. So the next one that we go is we'll go hands on our waist. And what I tell our students through this one, oftentimes you'll see some students do some kind of butt kick, back kicking action. Again, as I said, we want to limit our backside action. So anytime we do a butt kick like this, it's really inefficient for what we're trying to look for. So I tell them, okay, do that drill that you've learned before with the backward kicking action and have your hand on your waist. You probably don't feel much from that hip flexor. All right, my left side hip flexor, my near side hip flexor right now. Whereas versus if I go front side, I ought to feel that finger pinch right between my hip and my thigh, or my thigh and really feel my hip flexor engaged. So when I go through this same progression, I tell them, feel that pinch immediately as I go over and hold it. Again, a common flaw that I might see from our students is I might see them try to rush it. So they'll go here, and they'll do something like this, and then they'll try to get over the next hurdle, and you'll see exactly what I did. I'm glad I did. Because you end up dragging that foot behind you. When you try to reach from far, you drag the foot behind you. That's the ultimate reason why this hurdle is here. When we advance into our wicket drills, which I'll explain a little bit more about, that's the purpose of these, is to limit our backside action, show a vertical impulse over the hurdles, and increase frontside mechanics. That'll kind of put our posture, put our pelvic position, put our sprinting solution, the way that I like to think of it. Our technique that we use is a solution to a problem. We want to sprint as fast as we can versus the environment, versus a competitor, whatever it might be. We want to sprint with optimal technique.